Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, divorced but still awkwardly sharing the same house. Senegal's president fired his former mentor and PM last week, but rather than going quietly, Ousmane Sonko is back. His supporters in parliament vote him in as speaker, where he pulls the strings in the PASTEF ruling party. We break down the implications with our correspondent in the country. Also, health measures and a closed border with Rwanda on top of the uncertainties that come. The major health outbreak means that communities affected by the spread in DR Congo of Ebola are also trying to navigate the economic effects of the crisis. And Eid al-Adha starts this week, and in the run-up to the major Islamic festival, markets in Abidjan slowed down. Burkina Faso and Mali have suspended exports. Insecurity and the closure of the Sahel trade corridors are disrupting traditional supply routes, meaning that sheep are becoming scarce and prices are soaring on the Abidjan market. But first, things are getting very awkward for Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye. On Tuesday morning, the man he tried to get rid of last week and fired as PM received a long ovation from lawmakers after having been voted in with 132 votes in support and none against as parliamentary speaker. Ousmane Sonko was a former mentor of Faye's, who likely would not have won the 2024 election if Sonko had not been disqualified from running himself. Now, they're both from the PASTEF party, which Sonko founded in 2014. And it looks like his support there from the executive is still solid, despite the rift with Faye. In fact, the former speaker stood down on Sunday to set up Sonko to take his place with Tuesday's vote. Sonko is very much aware of the importance of the popular backing.
Some believed that dismissing a prime minister meant signaling his political disappearance. But in a true democracy, no office exhausts popular legitimacy. No office exhausts popular legitimacy. The people remain the source of power.
Caitlin Kelly is in Dakar for us and joins me now. Caitlin, so this is some pretty serious political drama. What's Sonko's return as speaker say about the overall dynamics of the Senegalese political landscape?
Sonko's role itself, he's moved from being Prime Minister to Speaker of the House. That's actually the second ranking political official in Senegal. So that now means he has powers to do things like decide what laws are tabled. He has the power to criticize and scrutinize government reform. And he also has the power to introduce legislation. So he says he's not going to use that to settle the score, but clear that Faye's attempt to change this power struggle has really just displaced it and moved it into a different format. We also have the issue of the PASTEF party. This was a party that were elected on the people's vote. They were very popular and they were a unified front between these two politicians. Now it's clear that there's the fracture and that will have consequences, not just for how Parliament works in the government, but also for the electorate here in Senegal.
So whose move is it next, Caitlin? It's a messy board. What do you see coming down the road?
I think what will happen next is Faye will move quickly to appoint his new cabinet, but who is in that cabinet will matter. Will it have pro-Sonko, PASTEF-leaning officials, or will it not? And if it doesn't, what will happen then? Faye will also try to stabilize the country because of the other situation, including the debt. There's an 132% debt of the GDP in this country, and IMF talks are about to start in a few weeks. And political instability will not be a good look for Faye. So he's likely to try and get things under control ahead of those because it means a lot for the country economically. And then on a really practical note, Tabaski is upcoming, which is Eid al-Adha, as you said in the intro. And that's one of the most important holidays in the country here. People are ready to take a pause. So it's unclear how this pause will play into the drama. Will it mean there's quicker episodes or will it all just hang in the air?
Thank you so much, Caitlin, there. Now, people living at the heart of DR Congo's Ebola outbreak are growing ever more strained and scared. At least 223 people have died and suspected cases have topped 900. In Bunia and Ituri province, traumatized locals are wary of outsiders. Some have even been lashing out at those trying to help. Under-resourced health workers say that they are struggling to make a difference. Emmett Livingston's in Kinshasa and tells us more.
The director of the World Health Organization headed to the Congolese capital, Kinshasa, on Tuesday night. This is a measure of the seriousness of the ongoing Ebola outbreak in the country. According to the latest government figures, there have been more than 220 suspected deaths and more than 900 suspected cases. And experts say that these figures don't really reflect what's happening on the ground either, since not all contact cases are being traced, and because of the shortage of tests. Over the weekend, the government banned flights in and out of Ituri province in eastern Congo, which is the epicenter of the outbreak. Ituri's governor issued a plea for help on Tuesday.
The first challenge, because this is a war, another war, is, as in any war, getting set up. And this involves everything from qualified personnel to equipment and supplies. So today in Ituri, we are waiting for these personnel to be deployed as soon as possible. You know that the airports have been closed, but on Monday, we were assured that perhaps by then these airports will be reopened to facilitate this deployment.
Armed groups are also active across Ituri, which will severely complicate the response. Some in the affected areas also think that Ebola is a made-up disease, and health facilities were attacked several times last week. Congolese officials point out that they've successfully handled 16 previous Ebola outbreaks, but aid officials have told us that this outbreak isn't under control and have warned against complacency.
Now, the outbreaks affected DRC's neighbours, with some, like Rwanda, closing their borders. The health crisis is also creating an economic crisis, as many affected by the outbreak are cut off from their livelihoods. Luke Schrager takes a look.
In the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, locals are asking how they're meant to make a living amid measures meant to slow the spread of the Ebola virus.
When the border is closed, we are all stranded. It's this work that sends our children to school, provides us with a home, and gives us a livelihood.
We see vehicles passing by, but no one can cross over to do business. Yet it was the supplies from over there that kept us going. Now, how are we going to survive?
There's no vaccine yet available for the Bundibugyo strain of the virus, and slowing its spread is paramount for authorities. Travel restrictions amid the ongoing outbreak have plunged many who rely on cross-border business into and out of neighbouring Rwanda into uncertainty, as well as those who kept their savings on the other side of the border.
The lack of banks means that most Bukavu's residents have deposited their savings in Rwanda. People no longer have access to their money or their means of livelihood.
The World Bank estimated that the 2014 to 2016 Ebola outbreak in West Africa led to over $2.8 billion in lost economic output as regional business from tourism to transport cratered. It's raised the possibility that economic fallout this time could be even worse, with locals already struggling with expensive fuel and spiralling living costs as a result of the ongoing war on Iran.
Well, in under a week, Ethiopians will head to the polls for general elections. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the ruling Prosperity Party are expected to be re-elected and are seen as shoo-ins. However, their opposition says that the necessary preconditions for a democratic vote are still not in place. Our Tom Canetti attended the Prosperity Party's last campaign before the vote.
Thousands came to Meskel Square in the heart of Addis Ababa to support the ruling Prosperity Party and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who is running for re-election on the 1st of June. The party slogan is a sheaf of wheat, which in a country that has had historic issues with food insecurity, represents, according to the Ethiopian government, the country becoming self-sufficient. Abiy Ahmed was expected at this last rally before the vote, but he was not in attendance. He has been campaigning on issues like the redevelopment of Addis Ababa in his corridor project and youth engagement.
We all support the Prosperity Party. We are here to support the party in the name of the Ethiopian people. Prosperity for all. Prosperity for Ethiopia.
But opposition politicians who I've spoken to in the lead up to this election have told me that the necessary preconditions for a democratic vote are not in place. They've told me that opposition parties and journalists have been intimidated, and more than 70% of Ethiopia is affected by armed conflict, with an ongoing war in the Amhara region, clashes in Oromia, and fears of a renewed conflict in the Tigray region, which will be excluded from these elections. Still, supporters of the Prosperity Party say that Abiy Ahmed is pushing for peace through national dialogue.
Already the security issues are in all nations. Ethiopians are not an individuals. The competing parties are working together with him. Because of that, we respect our Prime Minister. Also, we support him.
More than 50 million Ethiopians are registered to vote on the 1st of June.
Well, Eid al-Adha or Tabaski starts this week, and in the run-up to the major festival, Tabaski livestock markets in Abidjan slowed down. Burkina Faso and Mali have suspended exports. Insecurity and the closure of Sahel trade corridors are disrupting traditional supply routes, meaning that sheep are scarce and prices are high. Our team sent us this report.
Trucks are arriving in small numbers along the Abidjan-Ouagadougou and Abidjan-Bamako routes. Convoys face closed borders and insecurity. This trader's one truck made it through, but the second is stuck at the Burkina Faso border.
I've just heard that livestock trucks have been banned from entering Abidjan. My second truck is still blocked at the Burkina border. It hasn't crossed yet.
Some traders are now avoiding Sahelian routes. Another trader came through Ghana instead. The road is safe and business is good. 4 trucks in 1 week.
Going through Togo and Ghana works well for us because Ghana is safe. We have no problems on the road.
The sector is adapting. Many have chosen to take the Benin route via Togo. It is longer and more expensive, but accessible, and the Ivorian market remains supplied.
Production zones are now occupied by armed groups, so we have to find alternative supply routes. The route we used to take through Mali or Burkina Faso to Ivory Coast cost about 1 million CFA francs. Today, we are forced to spend 4 million.
These new trade routes are benefiting others. Freight agents are seeing a sharp rise in activity.
Since the crisis in the north, we've noticed that more and more livestock traders are using this route. And for us, moving freight keeps our business going.
Buyers are not wasting time. This customer arrived early. He found the Ayama market nearly empty, with prices already rising.
We came early to buy our sheep because animals are not arriving in large numbers. The Ayama market was empty and the sheep were very expensive.
Every year, Ivory Coast needs to secure 350,000 pieces of livestock for Tabaski, with 140,000 stock for Abidjan alone. 3/4 come from Sahel countries.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us, though, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.